Hello, everybody. My name is Ben, and welcome back to One More Month, the podcast that will end when I graduate college, which happens to be in less than 20 hours. We're down to the final day. I will graduate. By this time tomorrow, I will have graduated, and the podcast will be over. You should have this episode tonight. You'll have one episode coming out in the morning about the time I'll graduate, if all things go well. And that'll be it. That'll be the end of the story. The podcast is over. And so is this chapter of my life. But yes, today I have with me Mr. Greg Jones. Greg is my probably leading professor, I would say, being in the graphic design track in IMC. You have been the person who has probably seen and watched over my growth here and my work and just the evolution of me in general on all things skill related. Mm-hmm. So that was a big reason, obviously, why I wanted to have you on. Do you want to give the people a little bit of background about yourself?
I teach integrated marketing communications. I focus on graphic track, and I've been doing it now for about 16, 17 years.
How long have you been? How long you've been at the university?
Well, that's a good point. I've been here for 16 or 17 years, but I've only been with IMC since we started it.
Which was 13?
Roughly, yes.
Okay. And before that, you taught?
English.
And what was the transition between those two things? Why did you switch over?
Betsy Compton, who was doing the newspaper at the time, gave it up, and I had background in that because I'd had 2 publications, and so I started doing the magazine about the same time Amy was launching the IMC program, and I just kind of got sucked over.
And what were like some of the first classes you were in control of? I don't know what that was. I don't even know if our mics picked it up. They probably did.
It's a ghost. Call Alan.
But what were some of the first things y'all taught in IMC? Or some of the first things that you taught, I guess.
I have no memory of that. We did, as an outshoot of doing the newspaper, back when we had a newspaper, we rebranded it from The Life to Muse and started teaching graphics, and we just expanded the program from there. I don't know. I don't know what I teach. I just show up.
You show up. Well, the majority of my classes that we've had together have been, they're all graphics related with a little bit of business, I would say.
Yes.
That's a large portion of what you push is getting real world experience through the classes. And that's stuff like a real life ad agency as a class. Mm-hmm. We produce a student-led publication every year called Zone, which I talked about a few episodes ago. And then I'd say probably the closest thing that's not real work, but is real work examples is media campaigns as well.
Yes. I consider that to be sort of the capstone finishing project for most of our students in the graphic track.
And why is that?
It's because it synthesizes everything you've been taught to do in one place. And it makes a really nice portfolio to show to your potential employers.
And it's crazy that I took that as a sophomore.
Yes.
It's still one of my favorite things to show off. I'll throw it up here right now. We're going to go into the little boxes.
Okay.
Yeah. So media campaigns is a class where you have a full semester to just rebrand a company or a brand in general. Because I chose the Ottawa Senators, which was an NHL team based out of Ottawa, Canada. I'm sure that's not how you say that. I'm sure you're supposed to say like Ottawa, Ontario. I don't know. I don't know how Canada works. But the hockey team had a really bad logo at the time. I took it. I rebranded it. I did all of this stuff. And it's still probably my favorite case study to show off.
I think it's one of your stronger projects, actually. And the fact that you spent so much time in Photoshop actually creating uniform.
Oh, it was so cool. Yes. I spent $15 on that mock-up. Mm-hmm. And it also got my credit card blacklisted or whatever. It shut it off because I thought I got scammed because
you bought it from Canada.
Yeah, I bought it offline. I didn't buy
everything I bought from Canada turns off my credit card.
That's hilarious.
Yes.
But I was up for like a week. I didn't have a credit card and I didn't know why. And I finally called my bank and I'm like, "Hey, what's going on?" And they're like, "Oh, we have a unconfirmed purchase for $15 from." It's not Yellow Pages. It's like Yellow Sheets or something like that. That just sells mock-ups. It's a really great mock-up. It was really in depth of what I could edit and everything. But
really, the best part of that project is what you did with the logo. which I can't believe they were using what they were using as a logo anyway. But yours actually looks like it's for an athletic.
It was so
brand.
fun. It was because I guess that's completely different than I would say a normal logo is, because you're almost building a character, and you play a lot with like the line weight of everything, and
Sure.
like you're adding shading and stuff when you only have 3-4 colors to work with.
And the other part that was really cool is that you were trying to navigate jumping from Procreate to InDesign.
Oh,
or, we're not InDesign, but Illustrator.
Yeah, no, it was my first time
And,
really
and
pushing
you
that.
lived in both spaces for a long time before you finally figured out the power of Illustrator. So
before I found the power of image tracing, which I
Well,
didn't
that's true.
have.
That's
I
true.
did not have that when I did it, because I knew I went from drawing sketches of this guy's face for the center, which I'm pretty sure I just looked up a ton of faces of guys yelling and just found one I liked, and used that as a reference. And I remember I built it in Illustrator, which I probably could not open that file nowadays because of how many layers there are to it.
I remember.
It was so bad,
But you fought the process for a long time.
and I didn't know
You
how
are
to.
going to show the
Yeah,
actual
you know, they'll
differences.
see
Okay.
the differences.
All right.
We'll throw it up here again. This is the two differences. And theirs was very just boring.
Yes.
And I think what had happened is because they had a better logo. They had a better logo, but I think they had just swapped back because it was like their 50th anniversary or something. So they were like, we're going to reuse this old logo that we did in like the early 2000s. And it just was boring for a team that's supposed to be like these really
Aggressive.
aggressive warriors, especially
Right.
for hockey, which is one of the
Especially for
craziest
hockey.
sports.
Right.
But I really like how that turned out. That's one of the things I see y'all show a lot. Every time we have a tour and I go in there, which is, I think it's crazy. I think it's crazy that I am one of like the keynote websites that
We give tours all the time that you're not present for and you don't even know about. And I use that page a lot.
I just think back to when I showed up as a freshman, or even my first tour, and I remember coming in here and I saw like the quintessential websites that you would show were like Seven-ish,
Yeah.
and Katie's, and I don't remember who else at the time. But now thinking like I walk in there and every time I see it, it's like me, Shelby, 8Ball.
Yeah.
And you roll them out, and it's just really cool. So I guess there's a variety of them. But that's something I wanted to ask you about because, like I said, you probably like been over my shoulder for all of the past 4 years, knowing like how I've grown with work. So like, how do you think? That's what you couldn't read earlier. Is how do you think I've changed in the past 3.5 years? Like, whether just like socially, workly, what have you seen? What change have you seen?
I think the biggest change I've seen with you is how you work in teams, and I've seen growth in that. Like you finally figured out what we teach everybody to do, but you actually implemented it, which is to work in small teams. And the fact that you've gotten people to do this podcast with you sort of reflects that. Like you can see that sense of community. And watching the previous podcast, I was kind of struck by the fact that college for you is not about the classes you've taken, but it's more about the projects you've done and the relationships you've built. And I think that's what the university did for you. You don't talk about how painful biology class was, or like it just doesn't register. It's like, I'm smart. It wasn't hard. I just showed up. I did the thing. But listen to this cool project I did. And the passion that you have for that comes across too. Biggest growth area is just probably learning more tools to accomplish your goals. And I think that's the other thing that we did for you when you were here.
I fully came in as a freshman with, I feel like, a lot of just completely raw potential with absolutely no guidance, because it's just not something that's taught. Like the stuff we do here is not taught in high school. And I think all the stuff I learned in high school obviously pushed me towards hating a lot of the stuff I did outside of IMC, because I just have no interest for any of the core curriculum anymore. Right. It helped me because they weren't hard. I was able to breeze through all those in my first 2 years and not have to stress out about, oh, am I going to fail history or any stuff like that, because I know I could ace that. And I was able to devote all of my motivation towards IMC. And yeah, I had no tools at my disposal. I just had my iPad. At the time, coming in as a freshman, I was using an iPad mini that was like this big, because I don't remember. I guess we had just gotten them when I was in high school, and I just didn't realize I had the money to buy one. I also didn't have a laptop.
Right.
I didn't have anything when I showed up. And I was still using my finger to illustrate everything. I wasn't using any type of stylus. And now, my MacBook has tons, and I can't explain how many projects are on my MacBook now, or my iPad. Being able to work between the two and the entire everything I've learned here has been so helpful. I feel like for me to be able to create stuff that is actually useful.
Yes.
Because I mean, the first few logos I did coming in were hand drawn, and I had no idea what I was doing. But people said they would pay me, so I was like, I'll figure it out.
Right.
Yeah.
But at the last possible minute.
Yeah. Oh, I got a text when I pulled up asking, "Hey, did you do this?" And I said, "I forgot."
Yeah.
It was actually for Weldon. I'm supposed to be designing a T-shirt for his brother's senior class at high school or whatever. And he asked me about it probably a month ago, and he just texted me and said, "Hey, did you ever do that?" And I was like, "No, I completely forgot. If you give me the weekend, I'll do it." But I like what you said about the social thing, because I think that's been my biggest gain at college.
Yeah.
Has been learning the skills to network myself and make connections with people.
Yeah, and you'll continue to do this. And I think, honestly, like the core group that you've built here, y'all will be friends forever. And that's not always the case. A lot of people drift apart after college. But you know how to build special teams for things that you don't know how to do or you want insight on now. So you're going to be fine.
We know where Taylor Donato hit me and Nick up like 2 days ago saying, "Hey, I don't know what I'm doing with this project. Please help me." And within like 15 minutes, we worked it out. And it's so fun to be able to have these people who are like-minded.
Right.
But also very different. We all have the same common, I think, skills about having the eye for this kind of talent, but we see it all in completely different ways.
Right.
And even coming into this episode, I texted the group chat and was like, "Hey, what do y'all think I should ask Greg?" And like half of that's from them. Because I couldn't figure it out. I think my best structured episode is the one that I released like an hour ago that you haven't seen yet. But it's with me and Caleb. And because he obviously teaches podcasting, he came in and was like, "All right, we're going to do this, 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 and this." And he wrote it down in a little flow chart on that board.
Yeah.
And we hit every mark.
I don't have a flow chart.
You don't have a flow chart.
I have words I can't read.
Yeah, handwriting's not my strong suit, and it never will be. Yours is bad too.
Yes.
Yeah. My thing is I feel like my brain is going fast enough that I want to get this information out, but my hand is too slow to do it. So I just do like a mix of cursive and look at the second to bottom one right there. Mm-hmm. What does that say?
Yeah, I'm gonna say misspelled graduation. I don't know.
There is 2 D's in that. Now that I look at it, it is graduation.
Do something.
Graduation. Wow.
Wow.
But no, that was my best memories, I think, from the school I've been with the people I was around.
Yeah.
And I love that. I mean, it took me some time because my freshman year, I think it took me the first semester to really get involved because we weren't in a ton of classes in IMC. And then I got involved with like Donato, Colleen, Nelly.
Yeah.
And that was my first group. And then obviously they left.
Right.
And that didn't even last more than like 3 months because of COVID. Then I came back, and it took about another semester to get involved again. And by the end of that semester, which was the first time I worked on the magazine, I had met Sarah, I had met Nick really well, and I met Summer very well. And those just kind of just pushed me into meeting or finally building what I felt like was a very strong group of people who I knew I had at least ample amount of time with to build like a solid relationship, and that I feel like, yeah, it's going to last. We're putting the effort into it,
right,
to keep it up.
And you'll diverge into areas of specialty, and so you'll have somebody on your team that's really good at video, and somebody who's good at podcasting, and somebody who's good at social media, and that's what you kind of want, is you want to have like experts. Oh, we're waking up.
Yeah, I brought a mouse this time. But you were saying experts.
Yeah, and so you reach out to people who are considered experts. So not everybody's going to see every project. Mm-hmm. And the exchange is really simple. If somebody reaches out to you at 3 o'clock in the morning and you answer their question, because we don't sleep regular hours, then you're obligated to do that for them. in their moment of crisis, and it kind of works out, and you'll end up having relationships with people literally all over the world that you can count on.
You're right. I mean, at this point, I do have people all over.
I still have students who send me work, like former students who send me work. I'm really stuck. How do I fix this?
I get scared.
And if I'm awake, I answer it immediately.
Yeah. I get scared to show my personal work sometimes in here because I don't know. Sometimes it's not. I don't know if it's my proudest or what. Like, I feel like I do a lot. I've been, especially this past year, I've done a lot of work that's not related to school at all. I've been doing a lot of freelance this past semester. Mm-hmm. And sometimes I feel like, should I show this off to everyone in the program, or should I just
No, I think you're at a point where you could be selective, but I'll always look at anything you do.
Well, good. I made some logos like last week, and I just sent them to like Nick, and he was like, yeah, they're good. And I was like, I know. I don't know. I don't like. I really got into logos when I came here. I don't think that's my thing.
Right.
I think I just probably could be good at it, but I've not put enough time and dedication into.
Sometimes I think we put too much emphasis on it. Nobody's going to hire you to do logos right out of the box.
Yeah.
I mean, you're going to be doing some pretty horrible stuff. Catalog pages. It's really bad. And you grow into that. So you may come back around full circle and actually enjoy doing it.
Well, when people find out that you can do it, it's like one of the first things people need. Everyone needs something to brand themselves. And I've probably done 3 or 4, I think 3 logo projects this semester for people.
Yeah.
And I've realized I just don't enjoy it that much because I think it's too intricate for me. I think because a lot of people don't know what they want. Mm-hmm. And obviously it's my job to show them what they want and help build that out. But I haven't made up that process yet to like get to that point. And I think it's often been just, hey, I want this. So and then I make some ideas, and then it's like, I don't know if I want that. But there's like no actual sense of direction to make it efficient.
Yeah, well, it's the trick of actually doing a good brief with somebody. Mm-hmm. And the more you do it, the better you get at it.
And I think, I'm lucky that maybe these people also don't know what they want. Mm-hmm. But so I feel like I do my best work when I have direction. And I don't know if that means that my future is always like being in charge of it all. Because I feel like I'm really good at taking something and just making it like 10 times better. Even like not from scratch. Like if someone gives me something and they have the baseline of ideas out and saying, hey, here's this like style guide or whatever. Here's these like small parameters that we need to meet. And there's something already established. I feel so much more confident taking that and building off of it versus building from the ground up. And I don't know if that's
it just comes with time, honestly. And it's the same model that I've taught you since you got here, problem solution, right? Mm-hmm. Like how do you design a logo that'll actually help separate people from their money? I mean, ultimately that's the goal, right? Yeah. So I wouldn't worry too much about not liking the branding aspect of it. Working in with other people's style guides, incredibly restrictive, and eventually you get sick of doing it. Usually hits everybody after about 2 years of doing grunt labor because it's hard to go in at a high enough level to actually to actually do branding work.
Yeah.
So you're building off other people's stuff and trying to prevent drift.
And it's hard. I think a lot of the clients I've been working with for the past 2 years at my job, a lot of them aren't so super established. They have a logo. They don't care anything else about that. These are a lot of people who just want to have a presence online.
Right.
So they're not so much worried about how it looks more than just the information is out. So there's a lot of wiggle room there. There's a lot of room to expand. And I had a phone call with Weldon last night because I'm shifting on to working as an actual employee.
Right.
I'm getting almost all of our social clients. So which has increased my workload probably by like 30-40%, which is not crazy. But it's a lot more interesting clients that I feel like who have more of a direction or have a goal they want to meet.
Right.
And that gives me some, I guess, spirit back into it. Mm-hmm. Something I didn't have before. When I'm creating this post for the tire shop for the 200th time.
Right.
So I like to keep evolving. But speaking of evolving, my second point I want to ask is, what would you do? Okay, I gotta phrase this correctly. If you could control my next 5 years, what would you have me do?
We've talked about this a little bit. I think you need to find somebody to partner with or to work for who will teach you more about the business side of things. Like the creative part, you've really gotten down. You need to learn how to navigate the business side of things in order to pay yourself on a monthly basis and make sure that the money flow is reliable. So it's not feast or famine all the time. And that can be done a number of ways. But I think that's what you're looking for, somebody to do the Shelby Gandy side of things, for example.
People who are organized and have a sense of direction with what they want to do. And I don't know why it's always been so hard for me to get about that. I feel like I shouldn't feel so bad asking people when they're like talking about money, but I'm so bad at it. I don't know why.
But you model it. So like you try to get in on the meetings and you watch the other people navigate that and you go, oh, that's not that hard. And you just introduce yourself to that process more and more and more until you can take lead on it. But a lot of the stuff is like, understanding money and keeping track of spreadsheets and figuring out cash flow and and you need some more direction with that, I think.
Is there
but not fundamentally to change who you are, just to be able to do it.
Yeah, I just need to learn it.
Yeah.
Because that is definitely, business skills are just being very strong about it, I guess. Like, I feel so weak in that area. Like, I think that is my biggest weakness.
It's like everything, though. The more you do it, the easier it gets.
Yeah.
And you just need to expose yourself to it and try to hook up with mentors or partners. Either one works. And don't fully trust a partner to take care of that side of it, because that's where the money is.
True.
Right? So you need to make sure you understand it.
So if I have to do it on my own.
Yeah. Or if you need to check up and make sure you're not getting ripped off.
Yeah, true.
Right.
True.
So you need to understand it, even if you don't work in it on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah.
It can eat you alive. Administratively, administration in general drives a lot of creatives crazy. You're not unique in that. Right? So
yeah.
But I think that would be my goal for you, is to like really hustle and it's that team building thing again, and either work directly for somebody who will let you peek behind the curtain and kind of understand how it works, or just partner with somebody who has that skill set, but don't fully trust them.
Okay.
Learn it and follow up on it, because your livelihood depends on it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's always kind of been the idea, I think, is that I would figure it out, but I would end up having someone who's better at it than me to handle it. But I realize that may not be the best course to take, because if I'm always dependent on somebody, I'm never going to be able to do it.
Right.
And I think we've talked about this a lot personally, that I think these next X many years, 4 or 5 years, that are just more learning, more experience for me.
Yeah.
Getting real, just trying everything. I have no intentions of being tied down to any one type of thing, and I like having the flexibility to just be okay with it. Obviously, I have to have money, so I'm gonna do what I have to do to make money, and I don't have any issue with that as long as I'm still doing something slightly motivating.
Right.
I'm not going back to work at like Jack's or something like that.
Right.
If I end up like that, I've just failed. But I don't know. I think I'm still kind of putting it off because I'm not really focusing on work as I like.
Right.
I'm in a blessed position to do what I'm about to do.
Sure you are.
All of it. Being able to travel while being able to like earn money still is great. But I don't know. Well, I guess when I hit May, when I come back, it's where it's going to hit me, where it's going to be more of a, what's next? What do I do?
Right.
Do you have any advice when it comes to like looking, actually, like, because I haven't really applied for jobs, like in the sense of, I feel like every job I've gotten or done, like stuff like that, has come through the idea of knowing people.
Well, that's actually the answer to you've answered your own question. The idea is that you target a specific job you want. This idea of filling out 250 job applications and hoping somebody gives you a call is not how jobs are landed. You're going to use your network to actually find the job of your dreams, and you're going to research it before you go in, and you're going to go claim the job of your choice. Don't compete by filling out applications and sending them out in mass. It doesn't work.
I may have applied to like 6 things in LinkedIn ever.
Yeah, don't do that.
Yeah. And they have never gotten even a
You need to
slight
target
response.
a job. In my life, I've only ever not gotten one job, and it was an inside hire, and it's publicly posted, and I didn't know it, and I found out after the fact. If you target a job properly, you'll get the offer.
And how do you do that?
Doesn't mean you have to take it, but you should be able to get it.
So when you say
but
target,
research, like actually research the company, find out who the players are, find out who the decision makers are, know their names, know their roles.
Hello?
Hello.
Oh my goodness. Pause. Come apologize for what you did.
I am sorry for interrupting, guys. I will never do it again.
Thanks. Well. Oh, you were saying, okay, so you were saying.
Yeah, you just want to target the job.
Yeah.
And so you do that and use LinkedIn correctly, like reach out to people and build a network, and Nick could give you good advice on that because he successfully did that a couple of times. And that would be the correct way in. Try to find an advocate that works within the company who will actually speak for you. You don't even have to know them well, just somebody who put in a good word for you. Larger the company, the more important that is. So you jump ahead of the pack, and that's all it is. It's you already inherently know how to do all this stuff. You just haven't figured out that it's the same thing over and over and over again.
That makes sense.
It's about building teams, and you effectively assert yourself as part of the team before you ever show up for the job.
Yeah, and it feels like the unorthodox way to do it is the only way to do it, I guess.
Yeah,
Because like I said, I don't.
that's where the big money is too,
Yeah.
right? I mean, they're not going to see that coming. They're used to getting a stack of 50 applications and trying to navigate through that down to maybe 3 people they want to talk to. You want to jump ahead of that. You can't be part of that process and be successful.
Yeah, and I feel like I've been in a position of like privilege where my reputation has normally always preceded me. And Nick made this a big point in this episode that like once you graduate, you have the like throughout your life obviously you have this wave of like popularity up and down, and like here I'm at like my all time.
Right.
But as soon as I graduate, I'm just kind of back worse than I was even coming in as a freshman here, because I have no.
No, you're not.
Well, I think in the world of like the pond I've jumped into is so much bigger than it was here. Obviously, like I'm saying,
It's just a mindset, though. It's literally the same game over and over and over again.
okay. And I think, well, I'm glad that now at least I have stuff to show. So I feel like coming in here, I had stuff to show. Now I have legitimate.
Well, you do, and think about how we met. Like the first day you came in, like I was off to a meeting that I completely blew off.
Yeah.
And the university's still running, so that was a good choice on my part. And I stayed, and I've been forever grateful that I made that choice to actually spend time with you and talk to you and look at your stuff.
It completely. So I was obviously first time coming to Livingston. Totally like this is great. Oh gosh, this is scary. It's scary because when you pull off the interstate and you pull through the town, you're like, oh, this is wild. Am I about to spend 4 years here? And then you pull into campus, you're like, oh, this is really pretty. You have to get through the city first, but there was a whole lot of uncertainty for me. This is the only real line I was pursuing at the time was UWA. And I had heard about IMC or whatever, but that meeting with you and Amy is what sold me.
Yeah.
There once I had
I feel
that,
like we made that connection.
yeah, there was no doubt that I was gonna do anything else. It was what I felt like was one of the best reinforces, or like it gave me the most confidence of anything.
Right.
Was just feeling like, oh, I'm gonna thrive here. I'm gonna be able to perform well here because I'm already comfortable in the environment.
Right.
And then when I showed up, I was like, this is weird because I'm in like graphic 1 with Caleb, who I've never met before. And like finding out also with like Shelby and Katie Ryan, and none of these people talk to me. And I'm just like, it's like 4 people.
Right.
And it's so weird. And I'm just drawing all the time. And there's definitely a learning curve. I think I was super excited and super ready to go, and then I'm like, oh, I'm only taking one class freshman year. But then by my, I think sophomore spring, I was doing 3 and 3.
Yeah.
Or sophomore fall, I was doing 3 and 3. And I was able to just make my mark in IMC, and now I'm at the point where I think Maya asked me a couple days ago, like, how do I get this much work? Because I feel like I've done so much this semester, and it's always been people just, I don't ever pursue it. People have just came to me and been like,
Right.
oh, you're leaving? Oh, I want a piece of this before you leave.
Right.
I want to use this opportunity. Sometimes it goes great. Sometimes I produce something that I'm really proud of. Sometimes it's a little bit of a shit show. Like, it's not fun. And I'm really excited to advance to the next level where people can no longer, I guess, take advantage of the fact that I'm a student worker, and I'm like, I've done so much for the school, and I can like be like, oh yeah, you got to pay me a lot to do this stuff. Even what I've been doing, I found out from other people in the same field that have graduated and working. I'm like, oh yeah, I'm charging like this for like a little project, and they're like, why? We're doing like 4x that for like less work, and I'm like, oh, I hate this.
It's the hardest thing to learn.
Yes.
And again, that's why you want to have a mentor or a partner that will help you navigate that, because throwing out that big number, really scary.
Yeah. Oh,
It's a whole lot easier to say, well, sure, I'll do it for
We did that-
for a hamburger.
yeah,
right?
we did that deal. We did that deal for those illustrations for the school, and I remember being so. I sent an email and said, I can do this for 140 a piece, or like 1,400 for all of it. And I remember thinking, this is crazy.
Right.
Obviously, the deal ended up falling through because it wasn't the right people's decision to do it. I got paid for one of them, which is nice. But I remember just having that conversation with you, just being so uncomfortable.
Scared.
Yeah.
Right.
Just like, what if I just lose it? Because they're like, nah.
And your first $20,000 deal is going to feel awkward, and your first $50,000, and your first, and you get through it. You just have to be brave, throw it out there, and have the confidence that your work portfolio will sell them on the concept. Because really and truly, the reason they hire you is because they don't have the ability to do it themselves, right? So you bring them a good solution, and they'll pay for it.
And I think the issue sometimes is not knowing what their mindset of what's okay is, I guess. And I guess if you throw a number that's crazy, they're going to tell you, hey, sorry, I can't do this. And then you can work within their zone.
Right.
But sometimes I'm just kind of lost to like what they think is going to happen. And I'm really, really bad about doing work before having any conversation about finances.
Right.
And then I end up just screwed. Like, oh, yeah, that's going to be X. And they're like, no. I'm like, what do I do now?
Yeah.
Better
brief.
Yeah. Just be more prepared.
Yes.
It goes back to that squiggly line thing we talked about during the magazine.
Yeah.
Can you reiterate that? Because I feel like I butchered it a little bit.
You did. You got almost all of it right. And since we only really ever discussed it once, I was impressed. But at the bottom level, you have squares. Squares are the drone workers, the people who just sit in their cubicles and do what they're told. All right. Then above that, you have circles. And circles are the mom characters, the ones who care about feelings and how everybody's getting along, that kind of stuff. Amy's a circle.
Yeah.
And then above that, you have rectangles. Rectangles want to be triangles, and you can sort of see like the shape sort of indicates that they're trying to elongate to other sides.
Okay.
As opposed to like being a square
Yeah.
worker drone. And then above that, you have the triangle, which is the leader of the organization, the person who aspires to greatness and achieving the top, whatever. And then the one mark that you actually are, which is a squiggly line, which doesn't fit in an organizational chart at all. And somehow, like as you move forward in life, you want to learn how to be like a squiggly line, but develop some characteristics of a triangle.
Okay.
And I kind of live in both spaces, so I'm not the person to get advice on how to navigate
What do you
that.
think? What do you think are the characteristics you need and don't need from it? Though, like what parts do you keep of both? Like if you're getting the best sides of both worlds. Because I feel like a lot of my workflow and like how I get stuff done and maybe the methods I do it are the squiggly parts that I probably should turn into a triangle.
Right.
While keeping the unorthodox or out of the box nature of how I'm actually coming up with the ideas. I feel like I don't know.
Creative people are just strange. We all are.
Yeah.
Like, they're just all a little strange, and we get away with absolute murder. Like, we don't keep regular hours. We kind of do whatever the hell we want. We push deadlines. Usually come through at the last minute. Projects live in our heads, and we sit down, and it looks like magic. Because we do it in 10 minutes. And maybe the time allotted for it was like 2 weeks, and it's kind of strange. The triangle part is, I think, more than anything, like, is what we've already been talking about. This idea of like trying to navigate the money side of things, like the business side of things, the ability to actually put together a proposal and ask for real money because you're offering a real solution. It's great to have the ideas, but if you can't monetize them and put food on the table, then you're kind of shooting yourself in the foot. So it's just a separate skill set. And I'm not telling you have to do it. You just need to understand it enough to keep from getting, your lips ripped off.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And
Taking advantage of.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, you don't really fit in a typical hierarchy.
No.
And you get away with a lot of stuff that
I should.
an average worker would not.
No. And we talked about that a few days
that.
ago. Yeah.
Yeah.
No. The amount of times I've pushed back deadlines or been like, sorry, I'm busy. I need to learn how to say no to so many things with projects because this semester is a prime example of taking on way too much work that I physically, if I want to be fine and like do it all properly, I can't do it. I don't know why I've said yes to so many things. A lot of it's because I enjoy making the money and I'm not going to like pass up an opportunity.
But that's why you need somebody to help you with the schedule.
Yeah.
Who actually, what works for me is people who lie to me. And if it's actually due on a Friday, they tell me it's due Wednesday. Amy does that for me to make sure that I come in on time. I'm pretty good about making deadlines, absolute deadlines. Gray deadlines, I always move around.
Yeah.
Like if I have an absolute deadline, I'll make it.
Yes.
If it's due at 5 o'clock, you get it at 4:58. And so I'm sympathetic.
Yeah, and I mean I've been messing with that. I mean, obviously I've done that all throughout school. That's how I've always treated projects. But especially when it comes to real work. And that's also another briefing issue is that we don't always get the deadline. I would often ask, excuse me. I often ask when do you need this by? What's your timeline? That's always my first few questions are,
Right.
What is your timeline for this? And what is the goal for this? And I think in a lot of this past year, I've looked at it more as problem solving than I was before. A lot of it, I was definitely just thinking, I'm making something pretty.
Right.
But in the first episode, I talked about it and I say that what we do here is we find out ways to solve people's problems.
Right.
Normally through some kind of media, design or photography or
Right.
video, any of that kind of stuff. But I'm normally like you said, if there's a gray area, if they're like in between this, I'm like,
Right.
oh, okay, I probably won't do it until you text me and like, the amount of like adrenaline I get when I get that first text, like, hey, have you done that? I'm like, I gotta do it tonight. Okay, cool. I'll be like, yeah, sorry, I'm gonna out myself. I'll be like, yeah, I'm driving home, sorry, or I'm on the road. I'll send it to you tonight, and then I'm just like, and then do it, which is so stupid because I can do it in 10 minutes.
Right.
I can get it done like that.
Right.
But I just haven't done it. And I don't know where the lack of motivation comes from for that. You
Yeah, you
think
just need somebody that'll
to lie?
division of responsibility, like when we were blowing and going with the real ad agency, not the one we do here now, but that was my wife's role, was to keep all that moving, and she did it by just straight up lying to me about deadlines, and it worked out great. So yeah, you just need other people. I think that's the whole point of this entire little talk,
Yeah.
right? You need other people.
Don't do this alone.
And on the one hand, I really don't like people, and that's what I used to say. The truth is, COVID taught me that was not true, right? Like, I actually wholly and absolutely depend on other people. It's your mental health thing, right?
Yeah.
That's my advice.
And that's one of the things.
Reach out to other people.
And that's one of the things I've been so scared of here is just being done with that. Having the social freedom that I've had for the past 3.5 years is gone. I'm not going to see these people all the time. I'm not going to I'm going to keep my connection strong because I enjoy it. And
Yeah.
I thrive off that kind of stuff. And obviously, we live in an age now that's 100% possible, and you can live across the world like I do with my girlfriend. It's nothing new to me, and I'm going to have to do it. But it is scary because I'm not going to be here, especially with going to France in February. I'll be spending. People are asking me like, "Hey, are you gonna come back next semester at all?" I'm like, "No, I'll be gone. Unless I come back in January, which seems crazy to come back next month. I won't be here, and I just can't help that."
You can't come back in January because people will be saying, "Where's my stuff that you promised me?" So you shouldn't come back in January.
I don't have any.
Do you have any pending projects?
Not with the school.
Okay, just checking.
Outside of school,
Just checking.
I lied. I have something pending with the school. I just thought of it. Oh my god. Cool. Yes, and that may have been. Oh, I'll get it done.
Yeah, sure.
The final thing I want to ask before we wrap it up here is a question that Nick brought up actually, which is, do you ever get used to people graduating? Because you're in a job.
No, it's really strange.
That
It's like you
cycles
make
you,
friends
yeah.
with people, and I get that's at a different level, but then they're gone, and you think, well, I'll always be in touch with this person. And the truth is, y'all get replaced with the same number of people again,
Yeah.
and those people take priority. I will tell you that when people reach out to me with work-related problems, not personal stuff, but work-related, oh crap, I have no idea how this has gone sideways, what do I do?
Yeah.
I weigh in on that stuff immediately. The idea of like, hey, let's just catch up, I never seem to have time to get it done. I think I still need to get in touch with Nick as we're talking about this, right? I think like 4 weeks ago,
Yeah.
he reached out to me.
Yeah.
And I just haven't had time. This has been a particularly long semester.
Yes.
And I feel guilty about that, but I'll be mentally clear Tuesday, so maybe I can reach out to him and
You'll forget.
see how he's doing. It's just tough. It's just tough, and it's sort of like, well, it's kind of like your fraternity, and this is how this is going to play out for you too. Like you're really tight with your brothers and all that kind of stuff, and then you graduate and you just sort of drift apart, and it's hard. But this is sort of like teaching is like rent a friend or something.
Yeah.
Same situation.
You're in a job that's every 4 years. You're
Yeah.
rotating people.
Yeah.
And I think one of the coolest things is that you get to, at least in this department, you get to live on like with a legacy if you do well.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm very proud that I feel like I've set myself up for that.
Yeah.
That there are some of my friends who get to be mentioned as people that I would have heard of my freshman year. Like those names, like, oh yeah, this person did this X project, or now this person's doing this. Like, they were those people that were talked about. And legacy's always been a big thing for me. I think just the idea of being even this is part of what I want to leave behind. Is I did this, and it's just a way to, I think, plant my own seed in the ground here. I think. And I feel like I've left my mark in this school. I feel like I did what I wanted to do. I had fun. I had a lot of fun. This has by far been the best 3.5. I always feel so weird to say 3.5, but like it's been the best time I've ever had. It's been one of the best decisions I've ever made was to leave home and come here.
I'm proud of you. I think you've done really well.
Thank you.
I'm encouraged by the fact that you're leaps and bounds ahead of where many of our other students are. And since all ask in return is 10% of your lifetime earnings, I'm feeling really confident that I can retire on your check
Thank you.
if you'll follow my advice.
This has been really nice. I really appreciate it. You've by far had the most impact on, I think, what will be my future, professionally and socially. Just how I go about it all, and
Nice of you to say.
you very much inspired me to just. You've shown me that I can be myself. I can 100% be myself in the workplace because there is no one on this campus that is more themselves than you.
Okay. I'm not myself right now.
Well, obviously, no.
Yeah.
But in the class,
Yeah.
around people, you are unapologetically yourself
Yes.
to people, and that gives me a lot of confidence that I don't have to become something else. but I can just,
But you're able to do that because you have mad skills,
yeah.
right? You can get away with anything if you have mad skills. And I think that's resonating with you.
It gives me a lot of confidence that I'm
Yeah.
going to be okay. I feel like I put myself in a position that even if I do end up messing up really bigly and losing my path, I have the people around me, or I know the people that can help me get back on it, and you're one of them.
But all these firsts that you're worried about, what nobody older than you will tell you is that we're all scared to death. We just fake it and get through it. And you do it once, and the next time it's a little easier. And by the time you hit third or fourth time doing it, it's really easy. So first time you ask somebody for $100,000 or $1 million or whatever the amount is, you're going to have a hard time holding it together. Third or fourth time, no big deal. In fact, you'll ask for 20% more just to see if you can get it.
You'll ask for the office.
Yeah.
You don't need.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, goodness.
So did we knock out the sheet? I think
We knocked out the
we
sheet.
did.
We knocked out the sheet. We're good. The etc. was just anything else that happened. But I think we hit everything I wanted to. Thank you a lot for coming on the episode, making you the time in this terrible week.
Yes.
To come and record. I think we went. What time is it now? Is it exactly?
It is exactly 1:58.
Wow, we didn't even break an hour.
No.
I'm proud of us. But thank you for coming on. Thank you for everything that you've taught me these past 4 years. It's been amazing. And
So is this the part where we stand up and awkwardly hug?
I mean, if you want to,
No,
we can do
really,
that after.
I really don't.
We'll do it tomorrow.
Okay.
Yes. But thank you everyone for watching this episode of One More Month. Thank you everyone for watching the show. I'm wrapping it up now. There will be an episode tomorrow morning that kind of wraps it all up. Just me by myself talking to the camera one last time.
Through tears.
I'm really bad at crying. I probably won't cry. I'll probably just be like, I'm going to turn the lights off and everything. Just be like a spotlight on me and just be like, hey, really zoomed in. I wish I could be here in the morning where it's like an hour left, but there's no way I'm making it. This is set to 9 a.m. tomorrow. So when the ceremony starts and I have to be there at 8 and I'm got to go to sleep at some point,
Yeah.
I'm going to be a mess. But I feel like this show has made me confident that I'm going to be okay. All the people, I'm glad I had so many conversations about it, and that I was open about it because, like you said, everyone's terrified of all of it, and I just chose to be open about it, I guess. And I feel like maybe I've dramatized it a little bit in some spots, but I feel like I needed to at least get it out so that the door was open to have these conversations, and that I don't regret not asking for more, I guess. Not asking these questions, not getting the help I may need. And it makes me feel good. I'm glad I did this. But yeah, thank you all for watching. I will see you in the final episode tomorrow, and you have a good day. Bye. You have to wait. You do have to wait.
I do have to
Bye.
wait.